The sun poured gold across the city streets that morning, catching the gleam of expensive cars pulling into the glass towers of downtown. But amid the crowd of suits and shining shoes, one man didn't belong there. His name was Ethan Cole, a single father in a worn gray jacket, holding his daughter's small hand as they stood outside the towering headquarters of Blackwood Enterprises. His shoes were scuffed, his eyes tired, but his grip on that little hand was strong, the kind of strength born from sleepless nights and a promise to never give up. His daughter, Sophie, just 7, clutched a small lunchbox and looked up at the skyscraper with wide, curious eyes. "Daddy, are you sure they'll let you talk to Mr. Blackwood?" she whispered, her voice fragile with hope. Ethan nodded, though his chest ached with uncertainty. "They will, sweetheart, they have to." He wasn't there for himself. He was there to ask for help, not charity, but a chance. A chance to rebuild, to find work again, to prove that life hadn't beaten him down for good. He had once been a skilled engineer, but after his wife's sudden passing 2 years ago, grief had consumed him. He lost his job, his savings, and nearly their home. But he still had Sophie, and that was enough reason to stand in front of this building today, no matter how small he felt beside its glass walls. As Ethan approached the marble entrance, a tall security guard in a black suit blocked his path. The man's name tag read Carter, and his smirk came as quickly as his suspicion. "Sir, you can't come in here," Carter said, stepping forward, towering over Ethan. "This building isn't open to the public." He gave a glance at Ethan's torn jacket and dusty shoes before raising an eyebrow at the little girl. "And this isn't exactly a playground, either," Ethan tried to explain. "I have a letter for Mr. Blackwood. He needs to see it. It's about a project from the River Bend plant." But the guard laughed before he could finish. "Right, sure. And I'm guessing you're his old college buddy too." He chuckled, shaking his head. The sound of laughter from a man in a clean suit echoed nearby. A few employees walking past gave Ethan the same look, that mixture of pity and superiority. Sophie tugged on her dad's sleeve, whispering softly, "Daddy, it's okay, we can go." Her eyes were glassy, her voice small. But Ethan stood firm. Not this time, not after everything they'd already lost. He met the guard's amused eyes and said calmly, "You're making a mistake." Carter folded his arms, clearly entertained. "Am I?" Ethan slowly rolled up his sleeve, and what the guard saw made his grin vanish. There, etched into Ethan's forearm, was an old, faded Blackwood Engineering tattoo, the official mark worn by the founding technical team 10 years ago, before the company went global. The same mark that every original employee had to earn through years of contribution and service. "Name's Ethan Cole," he said quietly. "I built half of your early power systems when Blackwood Enterprises was just a name on a rented office door." The guard's smirk fell. His posture straightened. He stammered, You worked here." Ethan nodded. "Until life happened. Now I'm here to make things right. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of not judging people by appearances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support keeps these real and heartfelt stories alive." Carter looked at Ethan differently now, his pride faltering into guilt. Still, rules were rules, and he asked Ethan to wait in the lobby while he called up to verify. As Ethan and Sophie sat on the leather bench beneath the glittering chandelier, the contrast between their world and the one around them was unbearable. Executives walked by in suits worth more than Ethan's car, but Sophie simply leaned on her father's arm, humming softly, trusting that he'd fix everything, like he always tried to. After what felt like forever, the elevator doors opened. A woman in her 30s, wearing an elegant blue suit, stepped out with authority. She was Rachel Myers, executive assistant to Mr. Blackwood himself. Her eyes landed on Ethan with surprise, then softened into recognition. "Ethan Cole," she said. "I thought that name sounded familiar when security called." She dismissed Carter with a polite nod and motioned Ethan to follow. The guard looked embarrassed as Ethan passed by. "Sir, I didn't mean." Ethan stopped for just a moment, looked him in the eye, and said quietly, "Next time, don't judge a man until you know what he's been through." Then he followed Rachel upstairs. Inside the CEO's office, the view stretched over the entire city. Sunlight gleamed on the polished desk where Marcus Blackwood, the billionaire founder, sat reviewing reports. He looked up when Rachel entered with Ethan and Sophie. For a moment his expression was unreadable, then his eyes widened. Ethan, Marcus rose from his chair. My God, it's been years. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, life got complicated. Marcus motioned for him to sit. Sophie climbed quietly into her father's lap. Ethan handed Marcus a folder, sketches, blueprints, and a proposal for an old energy project they'd once worked on together but never completed. This design could cut your new plant's cost by 30%, Ethan said. It's clean, renewable, and it's what we always dreamed of building. I just want the chance to help finish what we started. Marcus turned the pages slowly. He recognized Ethan's craftsmanship instantly. The precision, the thought, the dedication. It was the same brilliance that had helped him build his empire years ago. He looked up and saw the exhaustion in Ethan's eyes, but also the same quiet determination. Where have you been all these years? Marcus asked softly. Ethan hesitated, then told him the truth. About losing his wife, about trying to raise Sophie alone, about nights fixing cars just to pay rent, and days spent searching for any work that would keep food on the table. I'm not here to ask for pity, he said. I just want to build again, for her. Marcus's gaze shifted to Sophie, who smiled shyly. He saw something in her that reminded him of his own daughter, a quiet resilience. He looked back at Ethan, then at the guard's earlier report, and felt a sharp pang of guilt. You should have never been treated that way downstairs, he said. I'm sorry for that. Ethan shook his head. I've seen worse. I just don't give up anymore. For the next hour, they discussed the project, just like the old days. The more Marcus listened, the clearer it became that Ethan still had his spark, that same genius buried beneath hardship. When the meeting ended, Marcus stood and extended his hand. Welcome back, Ethan. You're not just getting a job, you're leading this division. Ethan froze, disbelief washing over him. Marcus, you earned it years ago, Marcus said firmly. This time, I won't let you go unnoticed. Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes as Sophie threw her arms around his neck. The little girl's laughter filled the room, light and pure, echoing against the glass walls. Marcus smiled. Bring her with you tomorrow, he said kindly. We'll find her a quiet space here. She deserves to see what her dad can do. As they left the office, Rachel handed Ethan a company ID badge, shiny new and embossed with his name. The same name that once opened doors, now reclaimed with dignity. In the lobby, Carter saw them again. Ethan paused and simply said, "No hard feelings." But Carter's voice cracked with shame. "Sir, I was wrong about you. Completely wrong." Ethan gave a small smile. "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do after." Outside, the day was brighter than before. The wind carried the scent of city life, cars, coffee, ambition, and for once, Ethan felt like he belonged again. He knelt to tie Sophie's shoelaces, and she hugged him, whispering, "I told you, Daddy, you can do anything." He smiled through tears. "No, sweetheart, we can do anything." The next morning, Ethan arrived early at Blackwood Enterprises. This time not as a stranger, but as a man with purpose. Employees who'd once looked past him now greeted him with respect. Even Carter nodded as he opened the door. Inside the design lab, Ethan placed an old photograph on his new desk, one of him, his late wife, and baby Sophie, smiling before the world fell apart. As sunlight streamed through the glass walls, Ethan began sketching again, lines flowing like a heartbeat onto the paper. The dream he thought he'd lost was alive once more. Hours later, Marcus visited the lab. "How's it feel to be back?" he asked. Ethan looked up, his eyes bright. "Feels like breathing again." Marcus nodded, smiling. "Good, because this time the world needs what you're building." That night, as Ethan walked out of the building with Sophie asleep in his arms, the same city lights that once mocked him now seemed to bow in quiet respect. The guard by the door gave a genuine smile and said softly, "Good night, sir." And as Ethan carried his daughter toward their little car, he whispered, "No one will ever laugh at us again." His story wasn't just about success. It was about dignity, resilience, and the courage to show up even when the world calls you unworthy. If this story touched your heart or reminded you that everyone deserves a second chance, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps spread stories of compassion and hope across the world. Special request: tell us in the comments, have you ever been judged wrongly by someone who didn't know your story? Your words might inspire someone who needs courage today. And as the night lights shimmered behind them, Ethan smiled, knowing that kindness, even when forgotten, always finds its way back.